Captain Rethker halted at the entrance of the observation deck, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly, an involuntary signal of deep confusion among his kind. The scene before him made no logical sense. Lyra Vale, the human cultural liaison, was seated calmly on the floor, legs folded beneath her. Around her lay scattered pieces of what looked disturbingly like miniature battle armor and tiny weapons. 3 Calvari cubs stood nearby, including his nephew Tavik, as Lyra carefully adjusted straps and polished shiny surfaces. His translator crackled sharply. "Ambassador Vale," Rethker said, his voice tight with controlled alarm, "explain this immediately." Lyra glanced up and smiled, that strange human expression that always unsettled him. "Captain. Perfect timing. We're just about done." "Tavik, hold still, your cape slipped again." One of the smallest cubs, Toik, barely 3 growth cycles old, stood proudly in a scaled-down replica of a Calvari warrior's armor. A bright red cloth flowed dramatically from his shoulders. In his claws, he clutched a silver object shaped like a ceremonial champion's blade. Rethker's chest plates flared in distress. The Galactic Accord strictly forbade the militarization of juvenile species. Yet here it was, clear evidence that humans, newcomers to the Galactic Alliance for less than 2 stellar years, were outfitting Calvari young with weapons. "I demand clarification," Rethker said, shifting into formal protocol. "These cubs are under my authority aboard this vessel. If this is an attempt at conscription..." Lyra laughed, that soft musical sound that made his neural frills twitch. "Captain, relax. We're playing dress-up. It's just a game." "A game?" His translator hesitated, uncertain. "Yes," she replied easily. "Today, Tavik is a superhero. Yesterday he was a pirate. Tomorrow he might be a wizard." She gestured toward the cubs, who were now marching around the deck, making exaggerated swooshing and explosion noises. Rethker's confusion deepened. He activated his neural link, pulling up human cultural records. What he saw disturbed him: human children wearing elaborate costumes, carrying imitation weapons, engaging in mock combat across countless colonies. "Ambassador," he said slowly, "human juveniles appear to regularly participate in simulated warfare." "They're toys," Lyra corrected gently. "Not weapons. Just toys shaped like exciting things." Rethker stiffened. "Your offspring carry swords, projectile devices, and explosive replicas. Foam swords, water guns, and plastic rockets," Lyra said calmly, brushing dust from her pants as she stood. "Captain, can I ask you something? What did you do for fun as a cub?" The question caught him off guard. "I studied," he answered after a pause. "Navigation, mathematics, social structure. Recreation was strictly scheduled, problem-solving drills and supervised exercises." Lyra's expression softened, tinged with something almost like sadness. "So you never pretended? Never imagined being someone else or going on adventures?" "Imagination is reserved for engineers and artists," Rethker recited, quoting traditional Calvari doctrine. "Cubs are taught discipline. I am the strongest hero in the galaxy." Toik suddenly shouted, leaping from a chair. His cape flared as he landed in a dramatic crouch, perfect form, ruined instantly by uncontrollable giggling. Lyra knelt beside him. "What's your superhero power, Toik?" "I can fly," the cub announced proudly. "And I save people. And I have laser eyes, pew pew." "Laser eyes are not a recognized combat enhancement," Rethker muttered, though his alarm was slowly dissolving into bewilderment. "Exactly," Lyra said, standing again. "They're not learning how to fight wars. They're learning creativity, empathy, and problem-solving. When Tavik pretends to be a hero, he isn't practicing violence, he's practicing helping others. The weapons are just props for the story." Rethker watched as Tavik ran through the room with arms stretched wide, making engine noises. The other cubs joined in, shouting about rescuing civilians from a collapsing space station. Their toy weapons lay abandoned on the floor. These aren't combat scenarios, Lyra continued firmly. They're stories, where courage matters, where good protects the weak, where clever thinking saves the day. Humans learn through play. We always have. Rethker's data stream continued flowing: human psychology, child development, the link between imaginative play and innovation. He compared it to Calvari culture: precise, disciplined, efficient, and predictable. Predictable, he realized, had nearly cost them everything. During the Zarathi swarm invasion, it had been human tactics, chaotic, inventive, and seemingly irrational, that had turned defeat into victory. Uncle Rethker. Toik bounded over, cape twisted and sword dragging behind him. Do you want to play? You can be a hero, or the villain. Lyra says heroes work best in teams. Rethker looked down at his nephew. The cub's joy was unmistakable, unfiltered, and completely unguarded. When had he last seen a young Calvari so free? I do not know how to play these games, he admitted quietly. Lyra smiled warmly. That's okay. We can teach you. Right, Tavik? Yes. Tavik grabbed his uncle's clawed hand. It's easy. You just pretend. Pretend, Rethker repeated slowly. The concept felt foreign, illogical, yet as he watched the cubs weave their elaborate tale of heroism and rescue, something shifted in his understanding. Humans weren't preparing their children for war through these games. They were preparing them for something far more powerful: the ability to imagine a better future and the courage to pursue it. Not with weapons of destruction, but with creativity, compassion, and hope. Very well, Rethker said, his chest plate settling into a relaxed configuration. I will attempt, playing. However, I must note that my combat stance is superior to yours, young Tavik. Laughter echoed across the observation deck, high-pitched cub giggles mixed with Lyra's amused chuckle. Moments later, Captain Rethker, decorated veteran of countless campaigns, found himself wearing a blanket as a cape, defending an imaginary city from an invisible monster. Later, in his official log, he would describe the experience as illogical, inefficient, and completely unnecessary. He would also record that it was the most extraordinary afternoon of his entire career.